Deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power and glory, forever and ever.
Amen.
Amen. Clerks, any petition? Notices? Honourable members, question time. The Honourable Member for Bulolo.
Thank you, Mr. Acting Speaker. Login time lo. People do Bulolo. Short and sharp question lo mi am golo. Honourable Prime Minister lo yumi. Question regarding National Gaming Board lo yumi. Underneath this program, they have this give back thing or give back program. So district lo Bulolo mi pla request him. It's quite a while now. Mi pla request him one pla ambulance na one pla police car. I don't know what's going on in the department. Only God knows and some of us knows. Me like him some. You can put him some pla presa lolo. Also, you may put him approve finish, but what's the blockage or what's the thing that's stopping them from giving us the feedback? I'm Tassol. Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Correction, Acting Speaker.
The Honourable Prime Minister.
Acting Speaker, me like talk. Thank you, lo member belong Bulolo. Lo ask him this question. But me ask him all National Gaming Board lo proposal blogan. But me inform him. And I will assist follow-up in that proposal. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Assistant Speaker.
Thank you. The Honourable Member for Kundiawa, Kembugul.
Thank you, Mr. Assistant Speaker. My question is directed to the Prime Minister again. By way of a background, PNG is a Christian country. Our constitution is based on Christian principles and values. And that should be the reference point for our socio-economic development in this country. Just recently, we saw a flag flown at the American Embassy, the LGBT flag. So my question is, can the Prime Minister clarify to this House and the nation what's the position of the country? Because that is a looming problem that's facing our society at this point in time. Thank you.
The Honourable Prime Minister.
All right, thank you, Mr. Acting Speaker. Sorry, Pastor, Assistant Speaker, may withdraw him this long handset. You Acting Speaker, may look how long you also here. And I just want to also appreciate the question from Vice Minister and Member for Kundiawa on the issue on the flag that seems like a colored rainbow in the American Embassy precinct. The embassy, whether it's American Embassy or any other mission land in our country, by convention, territories that belong to those nations who operate. And so USA Embassy, if they are flying a flag that is perceived as inappropriate for the country, then they have their discretion to do what they want to do in their territory, their space. But I did release a public statement out already that we will write to U.S. Embassy, we will write to any missions in our country to ensure that they operate within decorum and in respect to our culture and to our Christian beliefs. And anything contrary to our culture and our Christian practice and beliefs must be respected. So that is a letter that is going to them and all other missions, not especially targeting USA missing here. I have not confirmed whether it's a flag for LG, how do you say this, LGBTQ. I have not confirmed whether it's a flag relating to these people or this issue or not, but let it be stated clearly and precisely there is no bill or law before us to promote or secure this mindset, this space in our country. God has created all of us equally, having respect this. Everybody has their own freedom of choice as they do whatever it is. Our country has sufficient law already to protect human rights. And there's some speculation that this parliament has some bills in respect to gay rights and homosexual rights and lesbian rights. That is false and not correct. No law is before us in respect to these issues. But having said this, if the members of this community amongst us, it is their choice, their right. The existing laws in respect to violence, etc., does give them the protection, and we don't have any specific matter relating to the flag, perceived flag of this community in the American embassy. I will write to them to confirm, but let me also indicate to us whatever they decide to host within the precinct is predominantly land by United Nations Convention, a land that belongs to them, and they could do that. But in respect to our culture and our Christian values, there's a letter of all missions to operate within and within respect to PNG's Christian values. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Acting Speaker. Our notice goes to the Minister for Justice and Attorney General. Just a quick question. If the good people of Papua New Guinea, what his plans are with respect to our High Court. Currently, we have only the National Court and the Supreme Court. We've got a backlog of cases held in appeal, in leave, and the timeline for litigation seems to be protracted. A lot of Papua New Guineans can't afford it, and we have a shortfall of judges in the country. So if the Minister for Justice and our good Attorney General could explain to this Honourable House what his plans are for the High Court and for the number of judges in the country. Thank you, Acting Speaker.
Minister for Justice.
Thank you, Assistant Speaker and Acting Speaker. Thank you, Member for Chuafe. I think we must talk pitching long or man American harem. I called now me black card. Two black court solistap. Supreme Court, Nambian National Court. Before long, independence. Me black card more high court system. Me black card Court of Appeal system. Australian Court of Appeal 2 stop na Privy Council by case by Golong, England. That's all time me black sim independence. Me black at two black court that's all. So all probably me black thing all same. This black time in good black long. You mean not can complicate him more. You mean must get two black or so only I'll come up him or let him two black court that's all start. National Court and Supreme Court. Now me black come. And then now he come this last time. Now close to 50 years or 48 years in black come now look back now. All judges now me black government thing all same. A good black long. You mean look back now. Sentencing structure belong court system. Me black now we got proposing. Me like to thank you long Prime Minister Marabe and Rosso government long. Me black is him submission go long. Lara me black sentencing or restructuring court system and only give him black green light or only talk approving this law. So me like to thank you long and also now me plan by the proposal same court system me like sense me go long high courts, national court, court of appeal, beyond Supreme Court. Currently me black at long this like two black courts, all high courts, all sit down on the same judges, all sit down on national court, beyond only go sit down on Supreme Court. Now this la nubla proposal stop long and you got court belong only it, or judge belong only it. Judge belong national court and that's national court as all. Suppose appeal courts judges that's all. Now beyond go Supreme Court and Supreme Court that's all. In on up same judges move up and down this la by rousing. So this la senis me like make him long and also me sabe also me cat plan the court cases me agree also you talk long and through now we black at 27,000 cases me black stop all judges me black at long and like tram lo mokim in on up so now one black way me black think long and me black happy all judges now two me like talk thank you long government or same Narbla submission, mi kisimiko, mi black kisimiko, long NEC, only give me talking all right long, including 20 more judges. Mi black law talking all right long, mi black got 40 judges. Now country come up or beginning grown now. Plan the land stop now. 40 judges by no na blarem courts. Only knows the savari up na making because it's a system. Only got long, you make long and you know not long. Ari up na wogim nambadi go. Or same na you blame larem you like you blame masabe or same system you know not long, me blame 40 judges by no RM. Me blame acting judges, that's all. Me like talk thank you long. Current Prime Minister and government long and or same talk your right long me black and recruit him appoint him 20 more judges, so he can make him 60. 60 by non-up, that's all. At least we start now. So only give him talk your right, me like him 20 more judges. Now only no talk all right. One blow away all government has been making long end.
Honorable Minister, I would ask you to make your reply short, so that we have other questions to come. Thank you.
No, an important question, and we must talk straight. Country is not long. Trade blood, arms belong government. Judiciary, and one blame only country stop. So you mean I'm important long. Parliament must stop long. When something make him long, judiciary. So you mean all grammar must have it clear long this level. I'll say now, please, me taking time. Give me time so I can close to my finish. And me black kissing 20 more judges. He can start making 60 judges bar him court. Well, at the same time, me black talk. Me black acting judges. Me black put him. Long mark him judges too. Me black find him hard look kiss him judges. Now me black like go overseas. Now NEC give him direction. Long department, long me black can go out na find him judges. Now give him specific directions. 5 blood judge come to Australia. 4 blood judge supposed me black can kiss him long New Zealand. 4 blood judges me black kiss him long Great Britain. And 2 blood judge me black kiss him long Canada. Now beyond pipeline, Arbla stop long and we black and go Commonwealth countries long. Pick him all this lana. Good blood long judge. All must come look him or some all must get confident long. System blow me blood. Time one blood China come look him or some all black man that's all sit down looking Supreme Court na RM Court is stop. All thing but only give me blood we get fair hearing or no got. So in good play long, people must get billing confident long.
Honorable Minister, we have a point of order. Opposition leader, what's your point of order?
Well, I think, Speaker, I think this like talk black man. I'm all racist comment. I mean, look good. Why you look down? You me all black man. That's my point of order. I should refrain. Say another alternate word or something. Thank you.
Honorable Opposition leader, your point of order is in order. I think I've asked you, Minister, to make your statement short already. So please, can you just shorten your... you have already answered the question. The question
right.
the member about you already answered. So.
Okay, we come out and force him this line straight. That's all I'm true thing inside the man. You go look out, you looking or some. I will not play like color stuff. Me play mix one them. They will give me a fair hearing. So now government look thing also important long. I will come invest in big money long country. So judiciary must be fair. Along all man must think they will give me a fair hearing. So also now government is giving directions long. Look now. You may recruiting better judges all over the country where Commonwealth laws will practice long. And I hope and pray that we will get those experienced judges for the country. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you, Minister. Opposition leader.
Thank you, Mr. Acting Speaker. My question is to the Treasurer is not here, so I'll ask the Prime Minister. Mr. Acting Speaker, in the last few years, we complained about the quality of services offered by the country's commercial banks. Honourable members of this House have also raised these issues, but the situation is not improving. Mobile banking and internet banking, ATMs are not working. There's long queues in the banks. There are so many bank fees being imposed. Mr. Acting Speaker, is a worry that commercial banks in Papua New Guinea are being sold or partially sold in recent times, and why the banks are keep your money in the bank or for you to withdraw on low and to interest rates that we are all aware of, Mr. Acting Speaker. The Easter monies paid this year has accidentally deposited into the bank account of our unsuspecting families this year, and suddenly this has taken low have hardship over time. And I'm wondering whether this is, I'm concerned, be a symptom of a deep problem and perhaps of a major financial crisis. Question, Mr. Acting Speaker. We all know that the Bank of Papua New Guinea, our central bank, and supervisor of the sector, but is it doing its job effectively? Central bank international guide them to effectively perform their functions, and I'm referring to the guidelines and international standards that all central banks must comply with, so that they set financial success, their risk management and exposures, and most importantly, corporate governance informations. Mr. Speaker, it is part not only citizens and their hard-earned savings, but to enforce PNG as the regulator and supervisor of our country's financial system to enhance banking transparency by way of legislation or amendment to existing legislation. Mr. Speaker, through you, my series of questions are: 1, Prime Minister, are you aware that many of our commercial banks are charging so many banking fees for deposits and withdrawals, including on loans, as opposed to the usual interest rates we are all aware of? Question 2, Prime Minister, are you aware that one of our banks has undisclosed sums of money into its depositors over Easter, reverse decisions, giving many of our low-income family earners unnecessary hardships? Question 3, if so, has the government through the Department of Treasury instructed the Bank of PNG, the regulator and supervisor of our country's financial system, to investigate and furnish a report to the government and ultimately to the National Parliament? If not, then why, may I ask? Question 5, Prime Minister, would you not agree that the commercial banks in Papua New Guinea are not fully transparent to the public, and that contrary to international banking standards in the Basel Accord, the supervisor, the Bank of PNG, has not effectively performed its role in enhancing such transparency? Question 6, do you have any plans or would you consider introducing reforms to the banking and financial institutions to improve banking supervision and transparency, so that commercial banks must publish core minimum information every day of the week, information that the bank, the public, and the market need to assess the bank's activities, the risks, and whether the bank is sound, so that they can make up their mind to walk through the door to open an account with that bank or not, or to borrow from that bank or not, and go to another bank. And legally, question, Blomi. Thank you, Mr. Acting Speaker.
Honourable Prime Minister.
Thank you, Acting Speaker. We'd like to thank you, Opposition Leader, for asking a series of important questions relating to the operations of our commercial bank and the relationship with the central bank and many of the current weaknesses that is in play in respect to their functionality and their operations. I'll go straight to replying him, and hopefully in the process of replying his 5 questions. I've raised the 5 questions here, but I may have missed one. If I do miss one, these are important questions for public policy. I will request the opposition leader to put them in writing, send to myself, and I will do justice to his questions by following up on them because of our public interest. But I am, in his first question, are you aware? I am aware of the fees and charges. I also do acknowledge it is extremely high, but in an environment of the present operation, they do indicate to us the high cost of doing business here and the charges. But as a government, we've always advised them to minimize the levels of fees and charges, make sure the operational environment is safe, conducive, and comfortable for our everyday users. And so that concern is noted. I am aware of the issues that our customers and our people feel in our economy, especially as they engage in using services of our commercial bank. We have engaged with the central bank to work with them more closer and to ensure that the services are stepped up, improved, and hopefully going forward into the future, the fees are minimized or reduced. In terms of the question raised in respect to transactional error that took place around the Easter weekend, I want to inform the House, the Parliament, through this question. Before the rollover of the system was made, I was informed by BSP. They had a visit to my office that they're making a system changeover, a rollover in the new system. They did indicate there might be a glitch. And as I speak today, I am not informed on the volume and magnitude of the glitch as yet. But from reports that we've been collecting on the ground and from unofficial sources, and not from BSP themselves, the indication of some error that may have taken place. And I want to also indicate to our people, just because suddenly you have a extra bump in your bank statement doesn't give you the right to have access right away. It is a test of our own individual character. When we talk about Take Back PNG and all the big pointing to others out there in society about corruption, when these sort of little instances happen in your own account, you have to be accountable to yourself in the first instance, knowing that this is not the money that you are supposed to have, and by a technical glitch that fund has come to you. But I am sure the bank has enough ability for recovery and work with their customer. These are customers that have traditional link with the banks. and they would have made the recovery of the recovery process. I want to, taking this question, indicate to the opposition leader and all of us, we will get a report on the magnitude and scope of the glitch in the rollover. BSP, as a responsible bank, is trying to update its financial system, so we have real-time transactions, real-time and modernized financial system that carries their operation here and also overseas. You may note that BSP is our dominant bank here, and they've given me assurance they want to have a modernized computerized system for transactions and ease of transaction, especially in a world where it is ICT based now and going forward. Government has worked with central bank. In the third question, has government instructed the central bank? We have worked with central bank to ensure they look into the issues of our commercial bank and the operations, and also central bank, our own state-owned enterprise bank. The National Development Bank is being reformed. National Development Bank will rise up to only be a development lender, but we are looking at having a commercial arm, expanding on PNG micro. The PNG micro bank will be expanded rollout to be a fully fledged commercial bank to give in one or two more competition to the existing. There is a need for additional banks to come into our economy. Our economy is getting bigger, the volume of transactions bigger, as well as our people who are unbanked because of their lack of comfort or confidence in the current commercial banks that is saving. There are many of our people, especially in the informal sector, who's not yet linked to our current commercial banks. We want to find an answer to that and have a commercial bank that is friendly to our little people, especially the moms and pops, the table business holders, the small business people. That concept is being, that banking proposal is being supervised fully by Minister for State-owned Enterprises. And if not at the end of this year, then earlier than the end of this year, possibly there will be an announcement on where we are tracking. This is a work we're doing with Central Bank. We've also asked Central Bank to open up the market, and some of you would have noted an occasion where myself and Minister Duma and others were part of an announcement by one of the oldest banks in China, a bank that has been operating in China and the world for more than 100 years, formed in 1912. The Bank of China has open office already in our country. They're working with Central Bank to comply with all requirements of opening another commercial bank in our country. Our country, Central Bank has been informed we need more banks in our country, open up the market, instead of just having one bank or one bank that is dominant or one or two banks. We should have enough space for central banks to facilitate. For those who want to go into the banking sector, open up, have 2 or 3 more banks in a country. Hopefully in the process, you are able to, in a normal market play, allow the banks to serve our people better. But Central Bank has also been informed in the regulatory roles to keep watch on our 2 major banks right now, BSP and Kina Bank, work with them so that customer services and burden is not hugely passed to the existing customers. So to answer your question, Central Bank has been informed, asked or instruct, whatever you may say, to keep a watch on the banking sector to ensure that the current major players are not overly aggressive to the market, but help our people and the economy. At the same time, open up for others who can qualify to come in. And I may also indicate one or two of Papua New Guinea's institutions like TISAS. TISAS, the TISAS savings scheme. TISAS savings and loans have indicated they want to move into this space. So anyone out there in our financial sector who want to go into a bank, there's a space for 1 or 2 more banks. We also encourage them to get their books in order and for them to work with Central Bank in that area. On the issue of commercial banks not transparent to Central Bank, I'd like to believe it is Central Bank's everyday responsibility to make sure that commercial banks are working correctly. And again, I will indicate that this concern will be raised with the central bank to ensure they keep check on our commercial banks. Your last question in regards to banking reforms. The last time a reform was made in the financial sector and banking sector was the Mekere reforms in 2000, year 2000, if I'm not wrong. It is prudent on the government of the day to look into these reforms to ensure that reforms anchors the growth in the economy that is taking place, and for us to go forward. Treasurer has been working on this area. I did indicate to you a little bit earlier on our work with central bank to bring in more banks into our country. The reforms are going on. Some reforms has been made to central bank. We want central bank to be more responsible, prudent, but at the same time have a play in the economy, especially using the monetary policy to assist Treasury with the use of fiscal policy. They both work in tandem to keep our economy running. Central bank under the current new leadership, I want to place on record appreciation to Mrs. Genia. She has stepped up. Instead of central bank governors operating isolated, she has stepped up to look at a reform agenda to components, but make the monetary policy come out bigger to assist the economy as we go through in a bigger economy than what it was in year 2000. Let me inform the country, when the late Mekere made the banking reforms in 2000, the economy was still under 20 billion kina. Today, the economy is a 110 billion kina plus economy. IMF puts it at 113 billion as of last year. It demands review and modernize central bank. Central bank then has a handle on our commercial banks and allow our commercial banks to be vibrant to support our economy. So good questions. We will report back to the Parliament in the work specific to central bank and how they're working to modernize banking. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Aitape Lumi.
My question without notice goes to my good brother and hard-working Minister Lawrence. This is in relation to land titles law Aitape town. Aitape town am legally placed na. Mibla lai tram lo developim. Mi sa face problem lo land issues. Mi lugi plan de mano lo kisimol unnecessary land titles na occupy in town area. Where Mibla like Ram lo bring development and Paatru. So me ask him if the good minister can put some provisions where by stopping all unnecessary man lo kisim nothing all title inside law or legally town or some law Aitape. So I'm pay wave lo me law bring it development. Suppose I'm got law Japanese in a minister clearance suppose no cat me like him can put him in include some clauses whereby restrict him. All man lo nogan kisim nating unnecessary title inside law all town. Thank you, Acting Speaker.
Honourable Minister for Lands, Deputy Prime Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Acting Speaker. And I'd like to say thank you for the very important question. It's good for me to clarify that also as the Lands Minister. Plenty of ground inside all district na something you may all man apply, and that is under the law they have every right to apply. But a lot of the land in our districts, there's limited land. So I would strongly encourage not only the member for Aitape, but every other single district to quantify your land in your district, come and sit down with either myself or the secretary for the department, identify land that you require for district development purposes, and we can be able to acquire that land and have it channeled, granted to the respective DDA so that you can preserve it for expansion of your district, you can preserve it for district development issues, or you can also expand your own district lands. My office is open, the Secretary's office is open. All you have to do is liaise with myself, and I will be glad to help fix some of those issues in the township of Aitape. You can also assist by getting, after the identification, you can also assist by getting someone at Aitape to see if you want to expand the land and properly subdivide them and use them, some for commercial interests and some for residential allotments, so we can help work and develop Aitape together. The more districts that are developed, the less people that come to our urban centers. Thank you. I hope that clarifies your question. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Salah.
Thank you. Thank you, Acting Speaker, recognizing all people, bless Allah. My question is to the good Minister for Transport and Civil Aviation in relation to Jomat Passage. I understand the good Minister has done a lot of work and he's under a lot of pressure, but and I've discussed this matter with him a couple of times. The question without notice is particularly in relation to Jomat Passage, that this matter is hasn't progressed any further, my good Minister. This matter has been raised by former governors of Milne Bay Province since, I think, Honourable Titus Philemon. And it has sort of come to a dead stop, I can see. Sometimes last year an advertisement went out for a committee to be formed to look into, just to consult and advise on the structure of Jomat Passage, how it's going to progress further. But unfortunately that committee is handled by the bureaucrats and it's come to a dead stop. They've re-advertised that committee again, and I understand it hasn't sat again to consider the appointment of that committee. So my good Minister, my question is, can you give me an update to the people of Milne Bay? How are you going to progress this further? And give us a sunset time clause so we know that the committee can form and make decisions. That's the first question. Second question, my good Minister, is that I believe, leaving these matters with the bureaucrats, we have come to a broken system. They have no interest to progress this Jomat Passage issue. It's a low-hanging fruit as a revenue generation for Papua New Guinea and for the Milne Bay people. And therefore, I would suggest, my question is, for you to appoint a political committee or members of this House to assist you, because you have many other matters to deal with in your portfolio, considering civil aviation and transport. And this could be an oversight. And I'm not putting any blame on you. The only question I'm asking, could you please look at putting a committee of interested parties to see this committee to sit down and make an expeditious decision on the progress and the functioning of the Jomat Passage issue. Thank you.
The Honourable Minister for Civil Aviation, Transport.
Thank you, Acting Speaker. We'd like to thank you too, long question, Member Bloy Salah. Salah is asking on that passage status right now. I would like him to give me a statement sorted out so we know where in relation to both the update and progress of Jomat Passage, and more importantly, the suggestion on bureaucrats not being part of the committee that makes the process or decision. So, member, message copy. I will get a statement made in Parliament and update you specifically on where we are at with that. Thank you for your question. Next week, Parliament session. Thank you.
The Honourable Governor for Western.
Thank you. Through question by me, by directing Golo, Minister of Law, Defense. Minister of some staff.
Honourable Member, I think the Minister for Defense is not in the House.
Okay, so I'm not staff, but I'm directing Golo, Prime Minister. Question by me. Migat plan dia bilo olami yubla salim golo kiunga nanal daru for the last, I think, 20 years, time is start school yet. Time also go lo, kiunga. Ono sa ko walk lol. Also come to slab, so I'm party hab lol. This la army barracks or army forward operation base lab. Also you see myself. On the nightclub. All can even carry more. Also, can say wali hitso. Anslab nagi kuso. This la but big blah. For the last probably 20 years, it has been ongoing now. It's creating plenty of social problem law. Kiunga, and at one instance, Omla Maratman, and he's a policeman, and Kilimeri Blem have been stablo kalabus for at least 20 years now come out. In the recent incident, I think you've been hearing story in the news law. Daru was a Omla man die. So time also, it was a Salim will go. They are doing illegal activities in my province that they're not supposed to do. So me like ask him, suppose national government he got some plan or relocate him all out of the town. Lo border so that all can look at him border. Now walk lo defend him country blomi lo. Online sa kam kiss him more resources from there, especially also come kill him Diana. Also come stealing fish, marine resource from there, Nakarim go outside to sell him or one him up. So then instead of all walk blola, also go find him. Also go kiunga na daru lo walking out lo walk where. Middle no suppose lo, all no suppose to go na walking a stop. Now too, in the recent incident, in 2020, they were involved. Now kill him, one by Deputy President of Place Lomla. And Deputy President of Mohead LLG. Die blame come up, Midwest Tinus and National Government Bakari investigation team go na. Also line Bogol Kalabus, no what one man and Gol Kalabus yet. So me like asking National Government service. All concerned team go down now. Investigating Mr. Lakada die come up them. Na hold him the line responsible law. All must face him justice. One time me like Lucy Mosem. Thank you, Prime Minister.
The Honorable Prime Minister.
All right, thank you, Mr. Acting Speaker. I want to thank the Governor of Western Province for asking this question. Firstly, let me apologize that the Defense Minister is not present. He had a close family member that passed on. So he excused himself this morning, and he's back in his electorate attending to the funeral of the close loved ones. But the issue on border province, I want to indicate to him that I am fully aware of all these issues, if not most of them. We have had erosion in our entire defense force for many, many years. That was part of the reason why the DCA had to be stepped up to partner the biggest military in the whole world to come in and partner us in terms of our sovereign border protections and capacity upskilling or capacitating our defense at the very earliest. But coming back to the issue, you would have, most of you would have known, Mr. Acting Speaker, it was in 2022, just last year. In fact, a little over a year ago when we replaced the defense commander, we felt that the leadership at Mari Barracks was also weakened, and a lot of discipline issues at many of our defense posts. And with respect to the previous commander, we felt that a new leadership needs to take place at Mari Barracks. Mr. Acting Speaker, I want to report to you and to the Parliament and to our country, the new commander, as a career military man, very disciplined, has taken strong leadership in Mari Barracks in the last year or two, and changes are taking place, especially in relation to discipline. He has stepped up the game in discipline of soldiers who are out in operational areas or in their own barracks. We're also looking at making sure we relook at the deployment of our military out and about as much as possible, an everyday deployment, but on specific call-outs and specific areas of their work. Border protection is number one. I want to report to you, Mr. Acting Speaker, since 2020, we have been allocating to build specific border posts. And so there are a couple of border posts in the west-Pacific part of our border, as well as I went and visited Wyom in December 24th of, I think 23rd of last year. In my pass-through in Wyom, I was pretty concerned that we have allowed that important border post to erode and decay for the last 40-plus years that has been in existence. So I want to inform the country through this question, we are stepping up the game in respect to building capacity in our defense, ensuring that they properly look after, they properly, and I have absolute faith in Commander of Defense, Major General Mark Goyna. As he settles in, we look forward to more of this being stepped up. In the specific issues in relation to ill discipline at Kiunga, Governor, your recommendations of moving them out to a post outside of the town precinct is a notable recommendation. We will look into this, but again, I will pass on these issues to the Defense Minister, the Defense Council, and the Defense Secretary and the Defense Commander, and hopefully we get to fix up the presence of defense in more importantly in the border areas protecting our sovereignty. One thing I can assure you, under this government's watch, Defense Force will be stepped up and given great support and become an agent of protecting our nation and our sovereignty instead of the erosion that has taken place since year 2001. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Governor for Central.
Thank you, Mr. Acting Speaker. My question without notice goes to the Defense Minister also, but because he's not here, I would like to direct the question without notice to the Prime Minister and ask the Minister for Works and Highways to take note. Mr. Acting Speaker, in terms of brief background on this important topic of bad weather in Central Province causing huge damages, I would like to just give a brief background before I ask my questions without notice. Mr. Acting Speaker, since February or March of this year, the province has experienced bad weather, and from May 29 to 31st, we had experienced 3 consecutive days of torrential rainfall that resulted in flash flooding that affected a lot of people, almost more than a third of the population of Central Province. Just recently, about last week, we had members of Parliament who had a press conference on the matter, while the team from the provincial administration and the district administration were out doing assessment on the extent of damage. The preliminary report on the disaster assessment has come back and has revealed that from the number of people that they have interviewed, about 164 people, 90% of the people said that this was quite a severe flooding, and almost 80% said they were the worst flooding that was ever experienced in the province. So the impact of the flooding has been very catastrophic. Many houses have collapsed and people have had to uproot to higher grounds. Public buildings such as schools and hospitals have also been affected. The floods have also affected the food gardens, plus livestock, so that has already affected the livelihoods of the people. The roads have also been affected on both highways and into the provincial and district roads. And so it calls for emergency assistance from the national government, from the open members and from the provincial administration. We have already started to assist our people, but it requires more. From the assessment that has been made, we require about 3 million per district of the 5 districts, that will amount to about 15 million. For the roads, infrastructure, roads and bridges, that will be about 10 million each, a total of about 65 million for each of the 5 districts. And that is from the preliminary assessments. But when the flooding levels go down and the team goes out and make more assessment, more a detailed assessment, these costs are seen to be going up. So my questions without notice is that I also do want to inform that the report has been sent to the Minister for Defense, who is the responsible minister. So my questions without notice are, firstly, what actions does the government intend to take in terms of mitigating the effects of flooding on the people of Central Province, whose livelihood has been significantly affected by the floods? And secondly, what actions do you intend to take to fix the roads and associated infrastructure, including some of the schools and hospitals and other public infrastructure that have been affected? Thank you, Mr. Acting Speaker.
The Honourable Prime Minister.
All right, thank you, Mr. Acting Speaker. Let me thank the Governor of Central for asking the important question in respect to the rain that has caused disaster to our people in those parts of Central Province. I want to give assurance to the Governor. I'll get the Defense and the National Disaster Agency to look into your submissions, especially in regards to the relief that is sought. And whatever we can practically assist in the immediate, we'll send the immediate relief assistance through. But in the long term, for the road reconstructions and on the schools, etc., we will give some support. I would also indicate that DSIP support and PSAP support is also coming. They could put some fund there. We will also find some fund to top up. But I will have an opportunity to give a full response when I'm in preview of this report. And hopefully next week, when Defense re-advises me, whether through the Minister or myself, I could have a time with the Governor to indicate on the level of support we can give to our people in Central and those that are affected by this disaster. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for raising these issues.
Honourable members, our question time has lapsed. We are straight into grievance debate. The Honourable Member for Kairuku. I'm still confusing between the two new electorates, so Honourable Member, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Acting Speaker. I rise on behalf of my people to raise grievance debate. Number one is a law and order issue that is happening 100 meters away from police HQ. The home brewing of alcohol happens here in Hanobara village and is sold to people in my electorate and I think the whole of Central Province, but it's causing a lot of social problems in Kairuku electorate or along the Hiritano Highway. So if the authorities or the good police minister can look into this and stop the people. I want leadership of NCD also to look into the matter because, you know, it's causing a lot of law and order problem back in the Central Province electorates. Secondly, on the issue of bridges and highways, on or about this week, the Mona Goilala Highway, which runs through Kairuku electorate, there's a bridge called Damwa River in Kubuna in Ward 3 of Kuni local level government that got washed away. And it's affecting people of my electorate as well as the Goilalas who are using this road to get up to Tapini Station. So on bridges, if the minister can look into this area. Formerly, the responsibility was under transport. The late minister and the former member for Goilala committed as a breach. Unfortunately, we understand now that the responsibilities have been given to him, placed under works and highways. So if that can be also looked at immediately, I think is one of the issues that could be also considered under disaster, so our people can be helped. But this is a colonial bridge that was put there more or less like a fort that was used for people to cross on dry weather. Talking about bridges, I think the minister is aware that along the Hiritano Highway, the big Vanapa Bridge in Hirikoyari got damaged by a contractor called Dekanai, and it poses danger for highway traveling public. So if that can also be considered, as well as the Vaimauri Bridge, I think he's fully aware that he'd done an inspection with me on or about November last year. That is also on the risk of being eroded away. And if something can be done about it. So, Mr. Acting Speaker, thank you for allowing us to hear all these matters through grievance debate, as there's a lot of members who would want to ask questions too, and we're never given the opportunity many a times, which is understandable, and thank you for allowing us to air these concerns through grievances debate. Thank you, Mr. Acting Speaker.
Honorable members, we will continue on to the grievance debate. Let me make a small statement here before we continue on with the grievance debate. Honorable members, I understand that when it comes Friday, during the grievance debate, many members have other appointments that they leave early during grievance debate time for their appointments, or the parliament take precedence over many other things that you appoint to. So Friday is a good time for you to sit and listen to grievance debate flow. I want the ministers to be on their chairs during the grievance debate so that when the members raise their grievances, you take note of what they raise so that you attend to them. Wherever you stand and view your grievance debate, don't leave after you present the grievance debate. You have to stay on and listen to others who are presenting on to the grievance debate. That's a small statement that chair can make. Grievance debate continue. I'll have the member for Menyama.
Thank you.
And then maybe after the member for Menyama, I'll also give chance to member for Midoramo. Since then you both stand at the corner and it was your first time on the grievance debate, I'll let you. Member for Menyama.
Thank you, Acting Speaker, Lord Luke Saville, Lord people of Menyama, and also people of Midoramo. Grievance debate. My grievance debate is in regards to the presentation that was done by the Works Minister. I would like to congratulate the Works Minister for his report that he has presented to this Honorable House. In his report and also in his speech, he has mentioned a lot about Menyamnia, and I would like to thank him. Loluk sabe lol people lo Menyamnia. Plenty time mi plus exim plenty commitment, but no got work sa kama, but mi la talk sa wasem. Lulis la Honorable House wasem. All people lo Menyamnia looking work lo marape roso government that is la connect PNG policy. Namila place him on record. Plenty time. Mi plus arim lo mouse tasol na walk sa come up lo mouse tasol, but exen no sa come up lo ground. Now mi plus looking walk and mi come up lo ground. Na all man meri blo kaintiba na tawa all place where me stop close to lock Gal province. Road and me walk logo some lopside na connecting all this man Meril. We're there in the pockets of the mountains. And also connect PNG. Connect PNGs. We must also look at connecting the people in the lower islands by jetties and wharfs, and also airports. And that's what the government is doing under Marape Rosso government. And I would like to commend the government for that. In the pockets of the mountains where people are tucked away, when road connects to them, most people are looking for services in towns and cities. That's why we see them in the cities. But if we bring the services by connecting them to the roads and bridges and jetties, people won't come out because services is reaching them. And when we build roads and bridges and jetties, people will bring their produces like agricultural produce, coffees, their agricultural crops, and also fish to the market, and they will have money in their pocket. It's not rocket science. So building roads and bridges is the way forward that this country needs. And many times we talk about higher cost of airfares by traveling to Port Moresby or traveling to other parts of the country. When we build roads, we give other alternatives to our people to access by road or by train or by airplane or by sea. People can choose. Those are other alternatives that people can choose. Whatever cost that they can afford, they can go on that. So building or connecting PNG is a good program that the government is undertaking and carrying out in this country. Also, one of the things that I would like to present to this Honorable House is during the presentation we heard about contracts given to the Papua New Guineans. That's very good that we must give to our Papua New Guineans. But so many times we have seen that also the overseas contractors, after 1 or 2 years, the roads are falling apart. This country seriously needs standards. It seriously needs standards. If they cannot deliver, we must seriously see how best, or the company that is trying to build road and bridges, they must be up to a standard so that the roads can last 10 to 15 years or 20 years. Most times we are putting money back into the same contract again instead of building another road or building another jetty or building another bridge, because the road is falling apart or coming off again. So in this country we need to be serious about standards in everything, in works or in other areas or in other sectors. We need to be serious about standards. So when you have good standards, most money that we are investing in the same work, same project, same contract, we are giving, inflating again, and we are not moving forward. So once we build good road and good bridges, we won't come back to the same bridge and same road again. We can go forward and build in other more bridges and other more wharfs and jetties. So my grievance debate in this house is that we need to be serious about standards, and engineers need to be serious. If you are a qualified engineer, do your work diligently and faithfully. No can go outside side na put him Yaman report na you go put him. Collect your side na you go wagi road. In Australia land na Yaman on top na you come na road bagarab gen. Money block all man meri work logo inside the same road na same bridge gen. Okata man meri man build him road engineer. You me okata must be diligent. We must be accountable to our people. A money blow man Mary. The service we all need him, lamb, all must see him. Thank you. This grievance debate, Lomi.
The Honourable Member for Miduramu.
Thank you. Acting Speaker Loluk Savelong, people belong.
Mida Ramona Minyamia. Thank you. Milatok, thank you, Law. Display day, Law, making grievance debate, Bloomy. Milakim Honorable House, Law, take note. Firstly, Mitok, thank you, Long. All leaders, honorable members, Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Minister, long come stop long this day, Friday. God give him time, you mean stop. Thank you. God him stop on top long even. This ground him marking leader. God him sana on top long government. Long leading more people long this country. Me talk thank you long this day. God him give him time, me talk thank you. Okay, now me going to long grievance debate long me. You may leader sit down long here, you may got all vision, you may got all plan. Long send him this country. This country must come up. One black country where I stop long world. Plenty time you may come talk long here, you may sit down long here. Leaders come now go. Prime Minister walk long senis. You may got plan long developing this black country. But something me walk long look long in. You may got triple RSM stop, churches stop, or company stop, na you may government stop. But management long church me look only manage him good. Management long company me look only manage him good. But you mean government? Instead long one sectors you may got long and you may got all public services stuff. You may leaders sit down long here, you may bring him all. Vision long you may come long here. But this long public servants, em will implement long me blah, long country. Plenty time me look him. Some only faithful long walk, some only no faithful long walk. Some time only absent long office. Em country belong you me. By you me kisim white man come long developing country belong you me. You me kisim independent 1975. You me ye talk long kirabim country belong you me. You me ye talk long senisem country belong you me. Plenty you me got master stuff. Plenty you me got all diploma stuff. You me all certificate stuff. This blood survey you me kisim long making on him. We should be sending this country belong you me. Plenty man only expecting money all the time. You mean not long sending him this passing block some money plenty time. You must honest long walk. Walk you must make him send him country belong you me. You mean not go stop no place white man and die lab no plan him you me. You may expect him money, kiss him money planting, walk in no send his country no send his. You must faithful. You kiss him sabe. You must put him this la sabe you come out. You lawyer, you must talk to him, you lawyer. You engineer, you must talk to him, you engineer. You accountant, you must talk to him, you accountant. Walk straight country belong you must I'm straight bla passing. Respect him you yet. Stop long office. Developing country. You may carry more vision belong you may plan belong you may come talk belong you na implement all sin nothing no waste him time no only no make him work. Who should be sending him this country? I think you make him sample in all implement this all public service long all offices come. We are Papua New Guinea. You must take responsible long make him work. You must take responsible long send him country belong you me. Hey something that you must look. Changing policy, less man must get out long office. Plenty time me look at old man Mary. Last time taso one block faster blow me sick. Mix him come along house sick. Only took make him appointment. Die no sabe make him appointment lo man. Die no sabe make him appointment lo man lo mimba come up lo die. Die can not take him man long anytime. Long house sick I mean no got place long appointment. Man is sick you go now. Doctor must check him you na give him medicine na. Help him long, I must stop life. You know, make him appointment, na kiss him day, not day go na. Man by lose him life. I mean, no good passing.
Some time I mean upla meba mikolo ngavis miliko mol manually expecting money loksim. But we government me pay more long work on that. I'm something make him na delay come up na. Country blumi blame no senis name stop long time. Public service on less long current work. Only my senis him dislapasi. Thank you, Acting Speaker.
Thank you. The Honourable Member for Middle Fly.
Thank you, Acting Speaker. Thank you, Lord. Give him time, Lord. Middle Fly. Behind Lord, Middle Ramu.
And time Lord Middle now. Honourable Member.
All right, thank you, Acting Speaker. Me too first time lo sanap na mila megi sambla tok lo side lo grievance debate lo milo here mila just raise him sambla thinking in regards lo 7 new blood district that were recently created by Marape Basil government. I think it was created on the last government of Marape Rosso. Me talk thank you 7 new blood district and come up. Na mi bla sambla kam sidan and mi bla product lo disla. New blood 7 blood districts. Where issue now mi bla or 7 blood district mi bla wako facing is almost similar. We have created a district and then we tend to forget some of the issues that are and the challenges that all this 7 blood district are facing. So I know that government is also looking into creating another new more 5 districts by 2027. We over join all this 7 blood where you may create and finish. But in light of that, I want to ask you also at this juncture we also have to see what has been faced by the 7 districts so that they can help me of preparing you 5 you creating or 5 blah. One of the issues that Mibla will face him is that we don't have the infrastructure. The 7 new districts don't have the infrastructure unlike the other existing districts. The 7 new districts are 45 years behind the other existing districts. So that means that Mibla got big gap. The gap between the existing districts and the 7 new districts is very big. How Mibla was struggle to catch up one time on our districts? It's so large, so huge, and that challenge is very big. So some of the districts where kind of an example are Middle Fly. It's just a green field that we are building on. We are working from ground zero. There is nothing, no infrastructure. There is no road. There is no other services to say that we are a district. We are given the district in the green field. So we are working from ground zero and trying to build. So that is a very big challenge for us as a district. And I know that similar challenges with the other districts as well. Now the big challenge where Mibla also facing too. We also, in the creation of the district, we also realized that some of us retain the old name, but it's a new place. Now some like him new name, that's what them old place. So that means the existing infrastructure in the old district is with a new name district. So again, example Middle Fly. Middle Fly is the old name, but that is the new district. Now Delta Fly is the new name, but that is the old district. That is where the existing facility and the seat of the government is. So Delta Fly is not a new district, more like. but it's a new name, but that's the whole district. So legally album come law, government, I'm not going to middle fly, I'm going to delta fly. Because we thought that delta fly is the new district show. And that is some of the district also. In the 7 district, I think 2 or 3 of the new districts are in that same scenario as well. The other thing that we also saw is that there is no separate special arrangement of funding for the 7 new districts. In the budget, we have 480 million there, and it's written for the new districts. But when the question was raised, the minister clarified that it is for the whole 89 districts again. It's not just for the 7 districts. So that means there is no separate funding to assist the 7 new districts. We are working 45 years behind the other existing districts. Now challenge from Mibla and Big Plateau Mas. If you want to create other federal districts, I think we also have to look at this. We have to set these 7 districts to a stage that they are matured, they are also ready, and then they are up to that and running and functioning as a district before we create some more new districts. Some of the things that I see is that we really need a whole government support approach. We need police to step in. Education to step in. All the departments must step in to assist the 7 new districts.
Yes.
Because we are going to build everything, all the sectors up. We need to build the agriculture, law and order, education, health. So all the departments must assist in building the 7 new districts.
Correct.
It must not be only one department looking at the 7 districts. The whole government approach must be taken to assist the 7 districts. In that way, we'll be up there with the other existing old districts. Otherwise, we'll be still running behind. The other thing that we need, if this year we don't have the separate funding and support from the government, then we need that support next year. We should have a separate budget for the 7 new districts. There has to be a separate funding to assist us, so that we can access that separately ourselves to build what those necessary infrastructures that we needed in the district. If there is no separate funding for us, and we are all waiting for the same DSIP like other existing districts, the other existing districts will continue to build new things while we'll be still dragging behind. So that is one of the things that we really need. This government has to prioritize. And we are happy that we are given that opportunity to zoom down because of the large number of population and the area that we are looking into. We created a new district so that we can look down, zoom it down, and that's good. But again, these are the real challenges that the 7 new districts are facing. And I just want to, Acting Speaker, I just want to put it to notice so that at least we all can be aware and we can all support the new districts together. Thank you, Acting Speaker.
The Honorable Governor for Enga.
Thank you, Mr. Acting Speaker. Mitula joining the Honorable Members Law display grievance debate today. First plus something me, Mr. Acting Speaker, Mila Dr. I'm close to 1 year long in me finishing election last year. plenty all Nubla, all member ICAM, all well-educated members of parliament, now come inside the parliament. And I'm giving good hope, long future, long this country. I think I'm a good plan on this time. Long as I'm sample blow me, or some me stop long time the parliament. Long talk, long time was steer all young leader. This country blow me. This is the only country where you mean by stop or beginning blow me by stop. So any duty, you mean got responsibility. Well, make sure also in this country, and stop good. Okay, at the time you mean total problems, yeah. And what blow you mean? This parliament. Lo taking responsibility. You know in Aplo you mean talk. Long all public servants. Who's that honorable man? We are the leaders responsible for making this country great. Time you come to this parliament, and a privilege. Long come representing more people on this floor. The first thing you mean all members of parliament, you mean Masikat, and honesty. You want to do your part to make this country great in whatever capacity you hold in. Country you may come this far. You know good plan. No can talk about something, all right. This country could be better. We have to think beyond our self-interest. Look, Constitution. Behind him good. Behind him more law. This place thinking a vision belong all founding fathers. Me look at me come along the crossroad where we can lose this country. Don't just pretend in this parliament that everything is okay. There's some fundamental things that need to be fixed. And one of them is law and order. I am tired of repeating this on this floor. Police are ineffective. You miss Salim defense go. Defense now come up ineffective. We are losing a very good defense force that was created and established. Long narla function, long defending this country, long all external forces. Let's wake up. Me give one a proposition for 8 years. Where is the other proposition? Long time no manage him, long oral on this country. Suppose you talk no long proposition from me, where is the other one? No can talk me blow some you by internally. Try no fixing problem. This problem is escalating. Now you may read him the paper. How much all innocent girls were kidnapped? Stop talking about projects. People's lives need to be protected. Properties need to be protected. Fix him law and order. Proposition belum establish di sini kalau di government. can send him to the proposition, blow me or someone else. Are we going to just pretend that everything is okay? No, God. You blood young blood. You have a duty. Now you clean, you come here. You focus, Lord, people blue. Address them all the issues straight. Get the small things right. And all the big things will fall in place.
Yes.
No can think, yes, we've got tribal fight. But I can guarantee you that you people in other provinces have more problems than I have.
That's right.
So I'm by me losing this law. I hope you mean as a government, please try my agenda. See now what I mean. How do you want this done? I will make it happen.
Yeah. Thank you.
Can be done. Just imagine if we control law and order, or talk about economic growth, where would we be? And by me go here. You mean I'm carrying money long SME and go and give him all people and I'll be walk. They know how to do it. We have to give them security. All must move freely. No country blow. This country doesn't belong to criminals. Let me not belong on Marona line. This country belongs to the good citizens of this country. So number one, Mila, Dr. Lolo and Orana Mitokosema. Now, young blood, please, all young leaders, take ownership of issues on the ground. Number two, Mila Dr. on decentralization. I want open members to be clear about this. These are decentralizing powers. Population is going to every time people have to go district law, district will stop way. They are in provinces. We are here supporting government. We respect our government. We respect your roles as ministers, prime ministers, deputy prime ministers. When are you going to respect the operations of provincial governments and the governors? Give him people walk him, strengthen him government, police. So you can manage him or people police. Project is not development. System of government must be effective. All administration must be efficient in the provinces. And then you will have a healthy country. Me spending plenty of time blowing me place na me talk. I'm a see my stop na me straight in place blow me. No man on national level by go down no place blow me na straight in province blow me. Give us the powers. Give us the resources to develop our provinces. When the provinces develop, the country develops.
Yes.
You can talk up here all day at the national level and say you are progressing, you're doing this and that. But if you can't connect with the provincial government and the people on the ground, no development will come up. Development has to come when ownership is taken by the provincial governments on national issues, national agenda, national policies, and develop it from down there. Open members, you have another responsibility. Mibla governor has another responsibility. You don't have clash. It's about time, acting speaker, it's about time, prime minister, please. It's about time, let's not put money to provinces, districts, nothing. Aligning more PSIP, DSIP, reflect the projects in the budget. You know why there's a demand and all money look like you? Remember for Ramu just said that? And because we carry money, they perceive that we are carrying money around. They think we are project managers. We are leaders.
Honorable Governor, your 10 minutes is left. I'll give you 2 minutes to sum up your...
Can I just summarize? Thank you. Mr. Deputy Speaker. Thinking blow me all members must send me talk. You mean no come here lo carry money. You mean come here lo provide him leadership lo country. Put him on system good. It's easy to give money away to politicians. But at the same time, we are setting a bad precedent where people think that we are project managers, money back carriers. So thank you, Mr. Acting Speaker. Me got another issue to Solem next week Friday, but me talk long. Thank you a long time.
Honorable Governor for... Then I recognize the member for Lake Obiago.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I totally endorse the grievance debate put forward by our good governor, Sir Peter Ipatas, who has been speaking about or who has been talking about this for some time. We are heartened that after the last governors' conference, we have some resolutions that we have given to the Prime Minister and the Minister for Department of Provincial and Local Level Government. We governors said we formed our own small secretariat to bring these resolutions so that rather than going through conferences where we sit and talk and we are preached to by presenters from various facets of government, we decided to condense all our resolutions and bring it forward. And the Prime Minister has given instructions that an effort must be undertaken to work on these resolutions, which include the issues that Governor Ipatas has raised and has been raising for some time, law and order, security, etc. The way forward is, from what I gather from that conference, a committee of sorts will be established. Well, we want that committee to be established as soon as possible, without delay. And that committee must then drive those resolutions so those resolutions become reality, or they can be debated, or fine-tuned, or whatever it is that we need to do to see them implemented, so that we can strengthen the provincial government systems that were weakened after 95. The 95 reforms, which are now 20 years old, and therefore they themselves need to be reformed or reviewed. To me, or in my opinion, that's where we went off the path, the development pathway of our nation. We were given a template by Australia. Follow this template. This is where we're going. The toolbox is here, your public sector. But in 95, for some absurd reason, we decided to veer off the development pathway. And we created these 95 reforms. And they weren't even piloted. You could have taken a district or in a province and you could have piloted it to see if it would work. Identify teething problems and issues, refine it, and then roll out such reforms. But they went across the board, across the country. And it's as if we veered off track into some very dark, unknown place. And then we dug a very big hole, and we jumped into that hole and we kept digging. And we continue to create a mess after another mess. We have to find our way back to the development pathway. If only we had followed the footsteps that had been left for us, the roadmap, I feel that we would be in a far better place today. If you go back to pre-1995, stations and districts were thriving. They were functioning mini economies that were doing very well. The public servants went to work and they had their funds to be able to roll out their programs, whether it was agricultural extension programs or rural health programs, law and order programs, whatever. They were rolling them out and the people were feeling the presence of government in these districts and stations. Fast forward to today, districts and stations are overcome with elephant grass. There's no law and order, there are no programs. Public servants are there, they get their fortnightly allowance, but what can they do with that? That's for them and their family. Revenues were centralized. The 95 reforms, strangely, were rolled out. One of the reasons was to decentralize, but in fact they centralized many things, many aspects of governance. We have to find out what happened in 95. Why were these reforms brought about? What was the intention of the government of the day? Was it the Look North policy? Was it to open our doors to our friends from the north? And by doing so, we actually allowed all types of investors to come into this country. Not just good investors with genuine intentions, but insidious characters who came here to plunder our resources, and they've been doing it very well. And they were some of the influencers of those reforms, if you did not know. That's right, for their own evil, selfish purposes. You don't have to colonize a country with an army. You can do so cleverly, covertly, with money. You can compromise systems, you can take over government departments and hijack them so that they no longer serve a people or their country, but instead they serve these organizations' interests. They can create syndicates, paralyze these organizations. They will then issue the licenses and permits at Waigani for their own benefit. And now they don't have a premier who is a watchdog over their province. And at that time, they convinced the governors because they said, "You blabay kamlo parliament ya." Olga the premier hamas nunggu through. Hai, mi blabay kamlo parliament na. Tok lo line blo mi blana. And they just signed without thinking. They signed. They didn't read the fine print, which said many of your functions would actually be centralized. Revenue, for instance. Now, on the 21st of every month, we have to wait for IRC to give us our GST revenue. For example, we can't collect our own revenues. Those revenues were the lifeblood of these stations and districts. We have to go back, find out where we veered off track, get back on that pathway. That's what we are hoping to do. I echo the sentiments of Governor Ipatas. We have to go back. This is not a means by which we are attacking our open members. No, you are leaders. You need to serve our country. This is a means by which we have to take stock of our provinces, which are the pillars of this nation, and strengthen them so that you can focus on serving our country and thinking about beyond Papua New Guinea, the region, the world. What's happening in the future? How are we going to feature? Is it going to be our future? Well, right now I can tell you that the future where we have is not our future. There are very powerful forces here who have already designed their future. We are just mere spectators. We are going to be inconsequential. Our children will serve their children. They will funnel all our riches from our rich country offshore to build their empires, to make themselves rich. And we are just going to be helping them if we do not get back on that development pathway. They already control many of our government departments. Ministers, when you go and manage your government departments, trust me, you are just managing status quo. They have syndicates in there that will control you. They'll send you on overseas trips. They'll buy you 1 VX, 2 VX, whatever you want. They'll help you. They'll compromise you. And then you'll just continue managing status quo. Instead of running a ministry, carrying out the reforms and building a stronger ministry that is supposed to serve your country, they have hijacked those ministries. Those departments are now mercenary organizations. They don't serve Papua New Guinea or Papua New Guineans. They serve these insidious cartels. And they can change governments. And they do, and they have. You think it doesn't happen? Do some research, my friends. You'll find out that you don't run your country, nor do you own it. You only think you do. And therefore, we aren't independent. And we should be ashamed if we fly our flags on the 16th of September because we proclaim to be independent, but truly we're not. We would only be independent if we owned our economy, we controlled it, and we ran it for ourselves and our future. We have a huge responsibility here. We must not forget that. Our responsibility is to construct our future so our children can be in charge of that future. Lastly, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I want to debate on grievance debate. That's right. What happens to these great ideas, these amazing presentations that are made? There were some amazing presentations, ideas and thoughts that were presented here by my colleagues. What happens? We all go away feeling great. We said some great things, and our people encourage us. And social media goes crazy and says, look at this presentation by this guy or that person. He's a leader, I'm king, yeah. Vote him, come back. I'm sa tok lo line blumi plana. Mouse blumi plana, sa makim go through. But what happens to these ideas that we are presenting here? Who is responsible for taking these ideas and implementing them so that they become reality? Who's going to take Governor Ipata's concerns and make it become reality, for instance? Or the member for Middle Ramu? Or Menyame, or Delta Fly, they presented some great ideas. What's going to happen to that? The danger is that nothing is going to happen to that. Then we have just wasted our times. We have just engaged in emotional rhetoric and made ourselves feel good, thinking that we have done something, but actually we've done nothing. So, Deputy Speaker, maybe it's your Parliament's responsibility. What happens in Parliament when we leave this office? What happens? Does it function? How does it capture all of this and then translate it into actionable items? And then who keeps track of that? Which minister is responsible? Are they going to do it? What parliamentary committee is responsible? Will they do it? And will we take action if they don't do it? Remind them? What's going to happen? How do we inform our people? Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I just thought I would share these thoughts. And I hope something happens to this and you come up with a great idea as to how we're going to translate all these ideas, thoughts, discussions, into actionable items that actually bear fruit. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Lake Kobiago.
Acting Speaker, I'll give him time, one more time, people from Koroban and Lake Kobiago. Me like take him kill lo Governor Bloinga, lo side lo law and order. Acting Speaker, places like Dodoromona, Huya, Walago, Mount Bosavi. Today, me look him, me play look him 17 play, only young play Mary, only they have been held hostage in these places. Fellow members of Parliament, people of Papua New Guinea, this la place, all this la place, and government in Savelo, this la place. There is no government services reaching out to these people. And yet they're making headlines, and they are girls. These are human beings. And these are from my province, Hela province. Acting Speaker, I see that the police minister is not here. I'm sure he's listening in somewhere. I am sure the police commissioner is out there listening. I have, on many, many occasions, in person, in meetings, and I have demanded that managing law and order issues is not an ordinary issue. Law and order issues, like all other provinces, you have your own issues there. But in Hela, we have 60 policemen running that province. We've just come off Southern Highlands in 2012. And the same for Juwaka. I will not speak for Juwaka, but I know that Juwaka doesn't have a police structure. We do, because we did it ourselves. If I have to tell this house. That's why Juwaka doesn't have a police structure. In Hela, we did it ourselves. I have on many, many occasions, even I have spoken to our fellow members from Hela. Even the Prime Minister knows this problem, because he is from the province. I have spoken to the police minister. Governor was in presence, Governor for Hela. That policing in Hela is no ordinary policing. There are no houses for policemen and women from elsewhere to come. There are no proper logistics. We have only been a province like 10 years now. And what's happening today in Mount Bosavi is a repeat of what we've seen some time back. There was a New Zealander and some of his colleagues were held hostage. And this time they want 40,000 kina. And I have spoken to the police minister that in 2 weeks ago, there were police interviews held in Hagen. 195 Hela kids applied and they were shortlisted of that. And out of that, only 5 were selected. What happened to the rest? What happened to the rest? And I'm aware that there's an MOU been drafted for 200 reservists to be trained. We're not asking for reservists. We've got a police structure approved, 479 positions approved. And we will not allow, the situation on the ground doesn't allow policemen and women from elsewhere to come and live and serve and work in Hela. It doesn't allow. It doesn't allow. And I have requested one-on-one, out of the 195, at least 50, at least 40. To be given the opportunity to join the mainstream police force out of the 500 current recruitment that's going on. What is so hard with that? We are a province. We are not asking for something that we've had before. We've never had a police structure. This is a province that hosts the PNG LNG project. We've seen not long ago, Trans-Wonderland, 100 million worth of properties got gutted by lawlessness. If these perpetrators have not been arrested and brought to justice, anything is possible. Mr. Speaker, anything is possible. I am demanding through this House, of the 195, at least 50 or 100 policemen and women from Hela must be recruited to fit the new structure. That is empty. Human beings need to be put on the structure. They've been loaded onto the Alesco payroll. We need human beings. We need our own men and women to go and face up. I am a member of parliament, and I have bullets on me because of lawlessness. I don't know who else in this house has bullets. I have bullets on me. Who else has bullets? My fellow members of parliament. Because of the raging law and order issues in our new province, the most important province, if I may have to say. Police Commissioner, I am telling you, the policing in Hela is no ordinary policing. Enga for that matter, Southern Highlands for that matter. No can magi na play around too much. There's a lot of risk involved. When you are faced with the even firepower, what do? Either you fire or he fires first. Isn't that right? This is a situation that we go through all the time up there. Mr. Speaker, Acting Speaker, sorry I had to lose my cool, but this is the reality on the ground. This is the reality on the ground. I need to fix my province before I become the chairman for, parliamentary chairman for law and order. My electorate as well. We got 17 girls out there. What is the policeman, the police commissioner is going to do about it? He did the headlines and sweep it under his carpet. Then you're on the wrong job. Then you are on the wrong job. We have thousands and thousands of kids running around loose out there. What do we do with them? We want to connect PNG, do all the things that we want to do. That's fine, but we need to feed the human beings. People are hungry. That's why we got raging law and order issues across this country. We need to address these law and order issues seriously. Thank you, Acting Speaker.
The Honourable Deputy Opposition Leader. Then I recognize the member for Goilala.
Thank you, Mr. Acting Speaker.
Tete imi harim Minister blo Attorney General tok good blo tok. Na I hope can put him go ministerial statement blo court systems been updated. Now I think that is very encouraging. Having to answer a question. Na good blo tas all suppose put him ministerial statement come so that Papua New Guinea can have him. That court system work lo improve. Now lo on the same token, before I get into my views, lo, me not address him subject outside, but I'm addressing subject inside the Parliament House, Mr. Acting Speaker. That's all. On behalf of my people of Kirwina, good enough, and the people of Milling Bay, me plus sorry lo disla all 20 plus young girls who have been held up at Hela. And our prayers go to our people up there, and especially to those young girls. I think our women and young girls of this nation have been abused enough, have been subjected to inhuman treatment for too long. Now, me like to thank you or some sample blow me, plenty blow me inside legislative floor or legislative floor. And more yampla new leaders who have been coming inside. Now, Mr. Acting Speaker, I'd like to speak about government and party culture inside this floor of Parliament. I'm a third termer in this Parliament now. Now, me looking plenty blame you me. Time we get voted into this house, you mean like come to work in some like change. That's what time you may come inside this house. Governance culture, na political culture, party culture, and pulling you me, passing hand blow you me, na hardly you me working independent dish in this floor of Parliament. Why? Mr. Speaker, and I hope Prime Minister in his wisdom, now all cabinet ministers, now all members of Parliament, we have to about time take this seriously and consider having an upper house and lower house in Papua New Guinea, in this Parliament. Why do I say this, Mr. Acting Speaker? Plenty bills, important bills come to this floor of Parliament. Deliberations are very little. Scrutiny of those laws that we are passing do not have enough time. Because Lord, this is the floor of Parliament, we allow ourselves to be gagged from debate. Very important bills that's supposed to be allowed so that people or professionals on this floor can participate in debate. You may sort him and you may talk yes, 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 yes. Mr. Acting Speaker, for the first time, after so long since independence came, you may get engineers pull up the Parliament House. You may get architects pull up inside this legislative house. You may get all doctors pull up inside the legislative house. You may get all lawyers pull up the legislative house. You may get all educationists pull up house, legislative house. You may get all mining up flying balloons sit down inside here. Plenty of professionals, even all businessmen who start look out for more big business, stop inside legislative house. Mr. Acting Speaker, legislative house, professional sampler or sit down working nothing. People who are supposed to be engineers and doctors now, or get a paper all holding, or sit down, nothing. They're underutilized.
Honorable Deputy Opposition Leader, I would like to ask you to talk and
look at you.
Look to the chair.
Thank you.
Instead of turning back to your honorable members. Thank you.
I like to look at you. You're a handsome man.
Thank you,
Mr. Speaker. Acting Speaker. Now, Mr. Speaker, also me talk. In my view, and view blow me, view blow gamano opposition.
personal view blow me, or professionals law this house are underutilized. Now, Mr. Speaker, me personally believe that plenty law come inside legislative parliament must be given ample time for debate. Now, not only ample time for debate, but I think, Mr. Speaker, if I may request through the chair, that some of these papers be given prior to the debates, so that all man-staff inside Legislative House or professionals inside Legislative House. Thank you.
Honorable Deputy Opposition, we have a point of order. Prime Minister.
I just want to, with respect to the Deputy Opposition Leader, the utterance is being relayed nationwide to our people and our constituents. He's a third termer, Mr. Deputy Speaker. He should understand, no bills come to this floor and is rushed through. Notice is given. When a notice is given, the bills, the draft bills are circulated. Everyone has the opportunity to look through the bills. It just points to him that he maybe doesn't know the process that is deployed. Or maybe he doesn't read. No bill just comes through and goes in an express lane to the front and is passed. Proposal made whether it's private member's bill or a government section bill. Notice is given. Once the notice is given, the draft law is circulated to everyone. That's the time you check through the laws. And so, Mr. Acting Speaker, there's a little bit of misleading inference that every matter that comes before us is bulldozed through. And I heard earlier he's saying conversations are gagged. I just want to advise him, in government circle, there's a healthy debate going on in our caucus. Yesterday was clear evident. A senior part of our government caucus had a dissenting view, and he voted against this one. The country is advised, please. There's a set process in play in which laws are passed. It doesn't come to the express lane breaking all laws. And country must be advised correctly that before any law is passed, every member of parliament has a draft of the proposed amendment, Mr. Speaker. We're speaking to our people. They may be misinformed in a day and age where misinformation runs faster than correct information. This parliamentary process doesn't allow second vendor process. Every bill that comes is already drafted, and the draft and the notice has an attachment of the proposed law and is circulated well advanced before the law is actually handed and given opportunity for debate and vote. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Prime Minister, your point of order is in order, but this is a grievance debate time, and I think the Honorable Deputy Opposition Leader has the chair to address the Parliament in that. Your point of order is in order. I will ask the Opposition Leader to continue on from his debate and take note of what you have stressed in your point of order.
Thank you.
Honorable Deputy Opposition Leader, I'll give you an extra 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I think point Muklo raising is not so much about what is discussed in the government caucus, but what is discussed here on the floor of Parliament. We must give ample time for discussion. That is my point. And Mr. Speaker, before I finish, let me summarize by saying that our people in this country have heard what Governor Enga has raised, what Governor Oro has raised with regards to law and order issues in our country. And our people in Papua New Guinea deserve to be given the treatment. The law and order has to be fixed. Planting you inside Legislative House, you mean like, look out to me, you mean yet? You mean our leaders first. And the issues, pertaining issues that are affecting the country need to be addressed. We cannot deny the fact. Also, Mr. Deputy Speaker, Melektok, thank you. That whatever laws you may pass him here, you must put him or people blame me first.
That's the point I want to raise. Now, me like talk, thank you again. Also, you look say me play opposition, me play no plenty. That's why you give me this opportunity to talk quickly. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Goilala.
Acting
Sorry,
Speaker.
I recognize the member for Goilala to speak so well.
Thank you, Acting Speaker. Looks one more time. Lord Lion Bush. I take the cue from the good governor for Enga and Governor Oro, and those who said this pressing issue on law enforcement. I attempt to take a microscope away from the police as a leading agency, and I want to put the microscope on the Department of Justice and Attorney General, likewise CS. It's the law enforcement is a journey that starts from a complaint being laid through the police process into the courtroom and out to rehabilitation at CS. Now we seem to be focusing our attention on the police or the internal security minister, which is correct by way of by virtue of the constitution that places those duties as #1 superintendent in the administration of law. But we also must place the same attention or focal point on both Medical Service through Attorney Justice and Attorney General, and likewise CS that come under the good Minister for Internal Security. In my humble opinion, I would like to think that the discharge of law enforcement is only limited or focused around urban areas. I speak for people in the mountains like myself in Telefomin, Kaintiba, Miniamia, Warrior, those brothers in the room or in this honorable house that come from either Rosol, Budi, or wherever they might come from, they might have come from. We are the people that feel the pinch of the absence of this basic service, law enforcement. In the towns and cities, we have a culture. There's too many units that are not structured, and the Department of Personal Management and Department of Public Service, whether they're aware of this or not, but we do have a lot of units that attend to one single complaint. There's a lot of units. It's a duplication of service. It's a depleting of the resources, while our majority of people back in rural areas, they suffer. I speak from experience, having lost 23 lives, which caused myself and the good governor for Central to attend to an initial peace ceremony back at home where we lost 23 people. So I am not just speaking because I want to please the media and the people or the good leaders in this honorable house and the people of Papua New Guinea, but I speak from experience. Having attended to that peace process, if I can share for the benefit of everyone, we wanted to find out what caused the 21 or 23 lives to pass on. And a simple fact that we found was that after 1975, there was no presence of government. They attempted to go to every places where they can find service, only to be chased away. By way of demonstration to get attention of government and politicians like myself and Governor, they had to get the lives of 21 or 23 people. That is the reality we face today in Koroba, Kobiago, or wherever we may discuss. We, in the previous times up until now, we separated people of being the hostile people and the peaceful people. I want to put on record, beautiful Medeng or peaceful Alatau is not peaceful anymore. As the good governor from Milne Bay raised yesterday on this floor. Even the angels have fallen. What are we as human beings that we will not fall? If the angels can fall, peaceful Alatau can fall, peaceful Medeng can fall. My point here is, the rationale behind this is, we must not concentrate law enforcement to only certain people. If we are in that department, we should not wait until member for Golala turns up at the office and say, I have law and order issue. By virtue of the constitution or the powers that is vested on your department, either the commissioner or the secretary of that department, you should, by your virtue of your sitting on the chair, have a list of who is your beneficiary to your service. You should take a stock take of how much play establishment or one country or one district you got list. I am 100% plus 10 sure on the records of police, on the records of CS, on the records of medical service, Golala has all the access, no ticks. I think my brothers from other rural areas also have the same situation at hand. We talk about law and order, but do we know what happened? What caused the law and order to happen? I can't speak for my brothers in Hela, but for Golala, I just gave you a little bit of scenario that they demonstrated they want to seek the attention of government. That's why they killed, at point blank, they killed 23 people in last government and in this government. So my point here, honorable leaders, it is not the responsibility of, unfortunately, the two ministers that should listen to this are not in the room, but the good Prime Minister and all of us as responsible and accountable leaders to our people. I thought I should share this, that in the best interest of our people in terms of enforcement of law, we must seem to be fair and just, and not only centered around only a few districts or provinces, so that I do not have to lose another 23, so that I get the deduction in 2027, 23 people less. Thank you, Acting Speaker, for giving the people of Golala this opportunity.
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Acting Speaker, for the opportunity to join this important debate on this Friday afternoon. First of all, I'd like to join you in commending your advice to the House that on grievance debate, all us ministers and all us members of Parliament should be here. It is important. So I would like to thank you for that advice that we should all listen to. So you pop up the House. Deputy Acting Speaker, the debates this afternoon that I have listened to are very serious. It is very concerning. And yes, I can assure everyone in this honorable House that every single debate that has been said, both the Prime Minister and myself are taking note of it. Last week, Friday, both the Prime Minister and myself had a meeting with all our ministers, our relevant ministers, and all our relevant departmental heads, Mr. Acting Speaker, and we put everyone on notice to give us what they've done in the last 6 months of being in government and what they plan to do to help alleviate some of these issues that we are faced with now. All our departmental heads and ministers have been issued KRAs to achieve those ambitions that government has. And we're all human. We cannot fix everything in the flick of an eye. But with time, it can be achieved. What our good governors have pointed out, especially in the law and order sector, especially in the decentralization sector, I totally agree with them. After the 1995 reforms, the changes that were made at that time, I wasn't around. I am now a second-time term member. I wasn't around. But the people at the time decided it would be the best thing to do to implement those reforms for the betterment of our country. But those reforms actually pushed the country backwards. You go to remote Manyamya, you go to remote Gumini, you go to remote Siasi, and you see those issues where government presence is not there and available. I speak from experience, serving 15 years as a district officer in these remote places, in Kilau, in Gumini, in Chuave, in Kamtai. And those days, before 1995 reforms, everything was working very well. There was a semblance of order, the semblance of management. Now, there is no more semblance of law and order and semblance of management in those districts. But instead of blaming people from before, the onus, Mr. Acting Speaker, is all of us in this House, including myself, including the Prime Minister, need to work together, opposition, government, and to deliver for our people. We cannot blame the past. We can only look forward to the future. And I agree with the seriousness of the law and order issues that has been pointed out countless times by the good governor and our senior member from Enga. He has always pointed it out, and I totally agree with our good governor. As a country, we have a lot of issues to fix, but law and order remains the most paramount that we need to fix so the country can move forward. I would like to assure everyone that this government will not sit down blindly and accept what is happening. And by saying that, it can be shown that in this year alone, we have given our police force, our law and order sector, the police force, close to 200 million, the biggest since independence, to support the police force on top of the regular budget. That means we are not only talking, we are not only listening, we are actually doing something about it. The police force has been instructed, and they come under our law and order sector. As me as a Deputy Prime Minister, the social sector comes under my oversight, and I have made it my personal business, Mr. Acting Speaker, to ensure that the visions of government are carried out in that sector. The law and order sector has a lot of issues, but it is a whole circle. You have the police. From start of arrest, the police officer doing the arrest needs to be trained properly. There has to be enough sufficient manpower on the ground. From that to the point of preparing the paperwork for him to have a successful conviction. Then you go to the prosecution. The prosecutor needs to be trained properly. Are there sufficient prosecutors? Are there sufficient investigators? Those things need to be done. Unfortunately, we have a serious lack of prosecutors, we have a serious lack of good investigators, we have a serious lack of forensics investigators, and we have a serious lack of non-commissioned officers and officers. This has been brought about by years and years and years of neglect. I know, because I used to also serve with the late police force, and I see those problems that have happened. So by doing that, we need to fix the prosecutions, we need to fix the forensics, we need to fix all that, we need to fix our command and control. That has started this year. This has started with the recruitment of nearly 600 police constables who will now, instead of doing 6 months training, will be doing 18 months training at Bomana. This has started with the recruit of 60 officers to go into cadet training, Mr. Acting Speaker. Those 60 officers come straight from our universities with university degrees to fill in the gaps as commissioned officers, which we currently lack in the police force of nearly 400. The police force has started, and the facts that have been given to me from our internal security minister is that 300 policemen have been dismissed since last year, have been dismissed and terminated for doing illegal activities and not doing discipline, having been disciplined. So 300 policemen have been dismissed. We now have put in an order to Ella Motors to bring in 200 vehicles to replace the current police fleet, which have been neglected over the many, many years. 200 police vehicles will come in this year, 200 will come in next year, and 200 will come in the following year to replace the whole police fleet. They will be in marked police colors with sirens on them and everything that can identify as police cars. We are trying to get away from the concept of hire cars and the wastage and a lot of bullshit in that sector. We are now working towards training prosecutors. 150 prosecutors have now been trained to upgrade their skills. They will be coming out into our field. We also have investigators being trained to come out into the field. And I ask a question to our good internal security minister and the police top brass. I say, why can't we train 2,000 people per annum? We want policemen on the ground right now, regular policemen. They said, unfortunately, Mr. Deputy Prime Minister, our places at Bomana can accommodate only 600 people per annum. And I said, why don't we do it in the regional training facilities? They said, unfortunately, the number of skilled instructors that are able to teach these subjects cannot do it and accommodate it in 1 year. So now we are getting more instructors upskilled, asking the Australians to assist us with a little bit more instructors to help to improve the amount of intakes going into our colleges. The aim is to bring 10,000 policemen on the ground. Not just about quantity, but about quality, selecting the right people. It will take between 4 to 5 years before we get it right. Why? Because for the last 10 to 15 years, we have neglected this important institution. We have also put together that not only the police force, we have attended to the other institutions, my good acting speaker. We have now given 30 million to the CIS in this year's budget, and we have targeted the first 3 institutions. That will be the Hela CIS, the CIS in West New Britain in Kimbe, and the CIS infrastructure at Buimo. Buimo holds the largest capacity of prisoners. West New Britain is a troublesome province, similarly to Hela, and because Hela is a new province. So we will direct for infrastructure that first 30 million to fix those issues at these 3 provinces. Next year, we'll attend to the next 3 provinces again, similarly to the next year. So every year, we'll attend to 3 to 4 provinces until we get the CIS, because they live in poor facilities. The prison camps are hardly able to keep our people in. Whilst we do that, one of the most important things...
Honourable Deputy Prime Minister, may I interrupt you? Your 10 minutes has slept. Because your response to many grievances raised today, I give you an extra 3 minutes to sum up your debate.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Acting Speaker. I appreciate it with this important debate, and I think Parliament should know about what government is doing at the moment to attend to this serious thing. With the magisterial services, I was shocked when I sat at MEC and the Chief Magistrate briefed us and presented a budget that said they had only 6 million kina for goods and services for the whole last 10 years. I was shocked. This government, Mr. Acting Speaker, has now doubled that, quadrupled that in fact. We have put in nearly 80 million kina towards attending to the important magisterial services function. Because 80% of all court cases do not go to the higher courts. They go to the lower courts, which is the magisterial services. We need to put it properly, build infrastructure, get good magistrates, and attend to them so each district can have a magistrate each. That is what the focus of government is doing. With the terms of police officers that we want to do to fill the stopgap while we train our own commissioned officers, Mr. Acting Speaker, is that the police department has now gone out and asked for applications to bring in outside Commonwealth police officers to help us with the discipline, to help us with the management inside our police force. And I can gladly tell Parliament that 20 positions have been selected and 20 positions will be made available for them to come in our uniform, in our PNGC uniform, to work inside the police force, to attend to areas such as forensics, to attend to areas of discipline, internal affairs, and prosecutions, and other specialist tasks while we wait for our own people to be trained. Because it takes 3 years to train a proper commissioned officer, and then it takes another 3 years before he can become fully operating with the knowledge possible to fill in that gaps in that middle management sector. So, Mr. Speaker, there's a whole number of issues that is before us. But let me assure our good Parliament, all the good esteemed leaders here, we are working on it. This year has been a rewarding one for the police, law and order sector, not only police, as our good member for Goilala has pointed out, it is a whole approach to the law and order sector. It was also a privilege sitting down with, going down in the last ministerial forums, and the Australians, we have asked them to help us with that sector also. But Mr. Acting Speaker, it is not only the Australian problem to fix it. Problem Bluyumiete, we need to put money toward it. We need to put facilities towards this. We need to address the issues together. And when we bring the budgets for the next 3 years coming towards Parliament, I would like the total support of Parliament to put money into this important sector so country blumi can see on good, nor meri pingni blumi can see on good inside Lodisla. Lewa blumi sa brook, tamiare mo lolim, ol meri lo, ol napla place, ol olimol, bagarapi mol, ol pikinini, ol kiliman o meri. We need to change our own people's attitude too, Mr. Speaker. Attitude in one big plus something bagarapi or line blumi lo place too. You may need to change your attitude lol. And also, Mr. Acting Speaker, let us all, as members of Parliament, look towards our own inner selves in our districts. We all get DSIP. You may try and use him sample of this DSIP to work one time or police, law and order sector, lo try and fix him, na improve him all this whole sector. I speak on experience in lay. I speak from experience in lay. When I first got appointed, Mr. Acting Speaker, I concentrated on law and order. In 3 years, I have dropped my major crimes by 80%. That is on police statistics alone. Because I bought 27 new cars. I built 3 new police stations. I made certain they had fuel. That was a stopgap we put in while waiting.
Honourable Governor, what's your point of order?
Order. I mean, talking, you, Mr. Speaker, will extend him time long. Time allocated 10 minutes long grievance debate. We're not looking for standing order. We're not looking. We're not looking for standing order by you get up na talk Sam. You the Napla member, you wait. Peninsula member by Kamla you. We're not looking for standing order. I'm standing order and believe you will walk him.
Honourable Governor.
So, you're like to Sam. Mr. Speaker, listen, I didn't pass them. I didn't pass them. You give me 3 minutes and I'll him 3 minutes finish. And you will continue long line, country will talk.
Honourable Governor.
So you've done standing orders.
Honourable Governor, let me respond to your point of order. Your point of order is in order. Honourable members, there's many important issues we are raising, and when you get to stand to speak, you speak to the limit that we can allow you to speak. You know, we are all honorable leaders, and with that respect, pasin mari-mari mi extend isla, but it is not to be always entertained. And I'll take my governor's point of order in the next grievance debate. I will not allow for extension in any debate that is being given. And Honorable Governor, take note of that. Honorable Deputy Prime Minister, your point of order is in order. And I'd like to inform the House also, in every grievance debate, when we come to 1 o'clock, according to the standing order, the grievance debate must also stop. And I've already seen that we went past 1 o'clock at this time, so our grievance debate for now is lapsed. Honorable members, the question is that the grievance debate be noted. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. The Leader of Government Business, Minister for Fisheries.
I ask leave of Parliament to move a motion without notice.
The question is that the motion, is leave granted?
Aye.
Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the pursuant of Section 75, Paragraph 2A of the Constitution, that Mr. Marsh Narawak be appointed Chairman and Mr. Alexander Ormi as member of the Citizenship Advisory Committee.
The question is that the motion be agreed to. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. The Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I ask leave of Parliament to move another motion without notice.
Is the leave granted?
Aye.
Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I move that firstly that this Parliament establishes a permanent parliamentary committee on citizenship matters consisting of Mr. Robert Naguri as chairman, Mr. Thomas Opa as deputy chairman, with the members Mr. Daniel Tindipu, Mr. Stephen Pim, Mr. Elias Kapavori, Mr. Ramzi Pariwa, and Mr. Gary Jufa. Secondly, the committee shall have the following functions and responsibilities. A, to consider and report on matters relating to citizenship as provided for by 1, the Parliament, 2, the Minister, or number 3, or on its own initiative, and B, to consider any matter of national importance relating to citizenship and report to the Parliament in accordance with the Citizenship Act of 1975. Thirdly, the committee shall have the power to send for persons, papers, and records and act during recess. Fourthly, and lastly, the quorum for a meeting of the committee is 3.
The question is that the motion be agreed to. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. The Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Acting Speaker, and I thank all members of Parliament for sitting this week. We've done some historical and monumental bills this week in order for our country to advance into the future. So, Mr. Speaker, I move that the Parliament do now adjourn until Tuesday, 13th of June, 2023 at 10 a.m.
The question is that the motion be agreed to. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against say no. Ayes have it. Honorable members, I adjourn Parliament until Tuesday, 13 June 2023 at 10 o'clock a.m.